So the astrology of the week of 22nd February 2021 to 28th February 2021 is a week of coming back into our bodies, coming back onto some pleasurable ground, as Venus this week will enter its exaltation. It will take a seat as the exaltation lord of Pisces in Pisces. And Venus will also rule this full moon that we're having in Virgo this week by Egyptian term and by triplicity, as we come out of one of the more difficult transits of 2021, the very air sign Saturn, cold, separating mental energy. All right. Welcome. It's great to see you. Great to be back. Great to have my technology sorted out and be back up and running with the style of video I like to make, which is to edit videos and give it a little bit of a delivery and an energy. And thanks for everybody's comments about that. And thank you for understanding. Mercury retrograde got me. I had to change out computers, unfortunately. So we're kicking off the week with my transit of the week with a lovely Cancer moon to start this week. The moon will enter Cancer here right on Monday, very early in the morning here in Central Europe, about 4 to 5 a.m. And so we enter this week with the moon at home, domiciled in Cancer, that lovely Cancer energy, protecting the home, nurturing those around you, loving people, bringing people into community and giving them the care and the detail and the attention that we all deserve in our communities and in our families. This is a lovely waxing Cancer moon, so we can increase the feeling or sensation of being at home, being with those we love, or loving. I always like to think about Cancer moons as, what am I nurturing? Is that nurturing potential that I have active, and then what am I deploying it with? And the shadow side of the moon and of that mother relationship can be that darker, non-nurturing energy. And so I would just like to check in with myself. How am I? We're always gestating things. Things are always in process of being born, and we are responsible. I'm responsible for multiple things right now that need me and that depend on me in that role of mother, protectress, and nurturer. And so I've got to check in. How am I doing? And when we use this energy at its best, we're very much feeding things positively so that they can keep growing, right? Life can keep trudging on in this journey of life and this magical mystery tour, right? I love the Beatles. So this is here on Monday until Wednesday in the early afternoon here in Central Europe. This is that opportunity to bring that loving, nurturing energy. And my favorite part of this transit is very early in the transit, right about 3 degrees or Pisces 4, the moon will trine the sun, flow between our active and then our kind of nurturing side. We get out and discipline and move, and then we bring in and we caress and we sort of cuddle and caress. And it's this kind of give and take of reality, this movement and then this relaxation. These energies, these symbols that represent those energies are flowing here in that Jupiter style trine very early in the transit. It happens about noon where I am in Central Europe, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think there's more of this metaphor that can be expounded upon or kind of deepened with the water theme. Pisces is a water sign. The sun is now in Pisces. We're in Pisces season. This moon is in Cancer, so it's two of the water energies. And this will be happening a lot this year as cardinal signs have been freed from pressure for large swaths of the year. And as Pisces gets activated auspiciously with Jupiter coming in and with Pisces also being free from Mars and Saturn and much of the year, depending on those Mars transits. So we're going to have a lot of potential here to work with our water element this year in a way that can be healing or motherly, right? Nurturing, feeding for growth. And one of my favorite phrases to come out of the last few years is this idea, water is life. I think it arises from different activist groups trying to protect water and the water supply. But water is life. There's no denying that. Our bodies are largely water. I use water. I'm drinking tea. That's mostly water. I just bathe. That's all water. It's essential for our comfort, for our functionality, for our thriving. It's healing. We have holy water that we make. Certain traditions have holy water to heal and to bathe in those waters. Baptism is using water to christen. This higher octave of how we can use the water element to sustain ourselves, to engage with our higher spiritual sense, ritualistically deploying water. That's all supported at various times in 2021. And this moment, this moon transit here, right on Monday, is one of those opportunities. So you might think about a ritual bath or a cleansing with, I like oils. You can kind of put oils on yourself after you're fresh, even just the beautification, that side of bathing. I mean, there's the short shower, there's all the way to where it's the luxurious bath with the oils and the bath bombs and everything. But you might find your sweet spot there and just do it with intentionality, I think, is the most important thing. Bringing the awareness of just how healing water is to our engagement with it here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You can think about the timeline we've been on. We've been in a very rough winter. We've been locked into Saturn's rule in a mental sign and an air sign. It's very much out of the body and into the maybe anxiety or the way that thoughts can sometimes punish and induce negativity or sadness. That was this great climax, and now we get to slowly heal from that. I was thinking about how, if you've ever been camping or been on a farm or in a camping environment for an extended period of time, often the bathing is not ideal. It's like quick cleaning or cleaning under the arms. Sometimes the water can't be controlled, the temperature, so it's roughing it, as we call it where I'm from. You're roughing it. 4 or 5 days of roughing it, or a week or 2 weeks or whatever, that first shower or bath when you return to your normal environment and have all the warm water you want, and can just lay in it and wash the hair with the shampoos you like. This is what I think we're transitioning. We've been roughing it in 2021, and now we get to engage with these healing waters. More so and more so as we get into the summer. You can think about it that way this week. How to come down from the mental trauma of this new moon that we just had, the Saturn energy. Mercury retrograde as well has just ended, so we've had to go backward and have had blocks. And now we're coming into more of the healing waters of this year, and we have access to that here during this transit of the week, early Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then of course it's all leading up to Thursday. Venus here on Thursday about 2 p.m. in Central Europe comes to Pisces, where it's exalted, where the wetness of Venus, the warmth of Venus can merge with a sign that is wet and expansive as it's ruled by Jupiter. And we get this lovely exaltation. I think of Botticelli and his Birth of Venus. She's arising out of the waters in that shell, and there's all the people around her, and this beautiful feminine energy that comes from water and is situated out of water. It relates to what I was just saying about this water theme, because we use water to beautify, cleanse, and clean and clear. And so we get this Thursday moment where I think the full expression of that healing water is life concept can emerge here. Several weeks with Venus here in Pisces. What is Venus? Well, Venus is love, touch, adornment, pleasure. It can be sometimes money or jewels. The things we adorn ourselves with are fungible, right? We can trade them at market and get cash. And so what we buy with money is very Venusian. The pleasures that are derived from money, that flow from having those resources, are often very Venusian. So this is what we're getting into. Tactility. This is one thing you can think about with Venus, is the pleasure that the body brings, right? We have nerves all over the body, even just rubbing the hand here. You ever rub the underside of your palm, or if you do it on the foot, I mean, it's just so pleasurable. I mean, our whole bodies are with nodes of pleasure. And so that's the tactility side of Venus, and that's coming here with water. And Venus being exalted in Pisces, it's that expansive Jupiter energy. So we're expanding our pleasures. It's a great opportunity for that. And I love this coming on the heels of the very difficult climax that we had that was so mental. Now we're coming into the body. It's a big theme of this week's astrology, is returning to the physicality of the body, because the night sex signs are in play this week. They're highlighted. Virgo and Pisces, 2 signs that have the moon and Venus as triplicity rulers. There's a sense of, now I remember the things that I like to do. The return of the sense pleasure as we get into this week's astrology. And I think this is going to build. This will build into the spring and summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know where I am when the sun's out after all this snow that happened. That we just go out, I would see other people. I just did like this. It's like Shawshank Redemption, that film. And that warmth. Venus is warmth according to Ptolemy. If we've been starved for it, or touch starved, we can try to get out and get moving with our bodies. The other side of Venus is cheerfulness, music, play, singing, painting. These are activities that we can do to make beautiful things, to use our powers to produce beauty. And we all have a voice. You can sing a tune or I like to whistle, and I mean, I was an old choir boy, so I can sing, but these are features, or putting on the music that you enjoy, just giving yourself access to that. As Venus is exalted here in Pisces, Jupiter's in Aquarius still, but in its own Egyptian term, so it has that lovely dignity. Jupiter's somewhat comfortable there in Aquarius, where it's at in those degrees, those 7 degrees. This will last until the last, I believe, 5 days of Venus's time in Pisces, but still, it adds more support, more benefic support to expand with your cheerfulness and your tactility and your pleasure and your receipt and your gifting of pleasure and your production of beauty and your mixing of colors. That's what Valen says, it's the mixing of colors. And so I always think that the Venusian side, even if you're not a painter, I mean, you're around colors all the time. Maybe you can change the paintings like on your wall or put things up you like to be around. So your environment feels more luxurious and more supportive of your cheerfulness, of your pleasure. Why not add something that brings us a smile or brings us joy? Fresh flowers are great for Venus and Pisces. If you can get some fresh flowers, they can change the whole feel of a space, especially when they're in water and that life force is pumping into the flower and that flower is producing a color. That can bring cheerfulness and a smile and just a backdrop of Venus in a space. You know, and then the other thing about Venus's transit in Pisces, Venus will be close with the sun this whole time. They're traveling together right now in the sky. There's different approaches astrologically. Some of the ancient texts talk about a planet in its own sign, term, or a sign of its exaltation being in what's called its chariot, where it's protected from being so close to the sun and it can still thrive. I tend to go with that model, that Venus in Pisces is very nice, even though it's close to the sun and it won't be visible. That's the thing. We have a Venus in Pisces transit of invisibility to us. Venus will become an evening star here later in the spring and summer. We'll get that, you know, shining goddess Venus in the evenings here later in this year before the retrogradation takes place in December. But we're not there yet. And so there might be a hidden component here. This might be, like I was saying, that subtle backdrop of beauty. The sun is your consciousness and your awareness. And so I think with this transit, there might be some intentionality. We might have to bring our awareness to find the beauty. And then once we do that, it'll start popping. It'll be available and accessible. But it may be, like I said, obscured somewhat because Venus is so close to the sun and we can't see it in the night sky. But still very potent and very workable. So then we get this full moon. This is a really excellent full moon, a really potent and very soft and pleasurable and, you know, engaged full moon with positive energy. The moon's full here in Virgo 9 or 8 degrees of Virgo. So the thing I love about this moon is that both rulers, we've got two, right? I always look at the term and then the domicile ruler, and some of the other rulers can be important too, but those main rulers, Mercury is very close to Jupiter too, having just stationed direct and now moving and plying to Jupiter. So there's that dignity being close to Jupiter. There's the dignity of Mercury being in the sign of its night triplicity. That helps this Virgo moon. Now, the moon is not aspecting Mercury, but that's okay. It's, you know, a reception is nice and you have it, but if you have a dignified planet, it just means that the condition of Virgo is healthy enough for the moon to enjoy its time there. And then we have Venus opposite, very close to the sun in Pisces, ruling the Egyptian term of this full moon, and that has a dynamic exchange with this moon, an intense flowing opposition between the body, that part of ourself, and then the pleasure and the beauty. You know, and depending where you are, the moon does well in Virgo. The moon is a triplicity ruler of Virgo. It's a night sign. It's related to our bodies and giving attention to the body through Mercury's, you know, perceptiveness and detail orientation. And I think here with Mercury and Venus combining, it's games, fun, enjoyment. Mercury can often signify children in ancient texts, and so there's the sense of being a child again, being playful again. If you can get outside, maybe going to the park and throwing a frisbee, you know, with people you love or friends that you can connect with, and smile and laugh and enjoy. And, you know, this is the kind of energy that I love this full moon being able to bring. And especially on the heels of last week, it's a very auspicious way to engage. And this is how astrology is. Difficulty is always followed by goodness. You know, Venus moves fast through the sky. Venus rules Libra, Virgo, signs that are almost opposite each other. So every half year, you're going to get a very lovely Venus transit. It's exalted in Pisces, and so that's, you know, not too far away as well. You're getting these activated Venus transits, the benefic Venus, quite regularly. So there's always something to look forward to. And of course, the moon's movements always bring us something enjoyable to find. But that's this kind of lovely part of our skill, of our art, or our craft here of astrology, is that there's always these pockets that we're dancing with. And this is one of them. You know, this is one of the best syzygies I think I've seen in quite some time. There is is no aspect here that's difficult with Saturn and Mars. Averse to Saturn and Aquarius, and then making that nice trine with Mars and Taurus. The moon's angular to the nodes, but it's not very close to the bendings, as we call them. You might use a tide orb to see when the moon is squaring the nodes, but we don't have that here. And so there's a lot to like about it. This syzygy is some of the better energy I've seen, like I said, in a few months. And I like to think about, as you guys know, the drum beats of reality are these new and full moons. And so this will give us a nice 2-week period as we wane into that new moon in Pisces. Some really nice waning, healing energy to lessen those difficulties that the first part of the year may have brought us. All right, and always I'm bringing in the fixed stars here. This moon is closely conjoined a fixed star called Alioth, right in the tail of Ursa Major, the great bear, the big bear in the sky. And it's near the root of that tail, right on to where the body and the tail meet. And one lovely thing about these constellations, so this bear, the big and little bear, are quite far north or near the pole star, and so they revolve around that pole star. They can be auspicious for animals. Ptolemy writes about this being related to Mars. Manilius talks about those being born under this star as having an ability to calm animals. So maybe that martial side of large animals, you can calm and work with that energy. There may be a risk of rousing animals, becoming uncontrolled if you rouse anger here, but I don't see that with Mars itself being situated as it is to this syzygy. Mars is kind of subdued, so I think this is auspicious for kind of calming our rageful tendencies, being even around animals. If you're going to get out around your pups, or maybe going to the zoos I don't really like, but going out into nature, maybe there'll be some animals coming up to you, kind of animal whisperer style, but as a metaphor for the animals around us and in our lives. And we are animals, right? We have an animalistic side, and all people that we're around have an animal instinct. There might be good energy with this full moon of kind of mollifying, pacifying, and engaging. Remember, it's a Venusian moon ruled by Venus because it's in Venus's Egyptian term, Venus exalted in Pisces. So this is like I was saying earlier, this tactility, this connection, this togetherness. That's what Venus likes. And I think with Alioth, Manilius talks about there being no hostile face from these animals. So that's lovely, right? That's very Venus and Pisces. Yeah, so that's just where I'm going with this period. That's part of why this 2-week period and why this moon itself and this week of astrology is so lovely, because it's de-emphasizing the fighting and the turmoil and the acrimony, and it's bringing us an ability to enjoy luscious Venus exalted in Pisces, subdue our maybe reactive nature, and come in and connect and feel pleasure with others. So it fits with that theme, this Alioth conjunction, fixed star Alioth conjoining the full moon. And then about Sunday at 8 p.m., the moon will come into Libra to finish out the week, those last 4 hours. And it's a lovely time, our Libra moon with exalted Venus. So I want to close off the week here with this idea. Virgo's a mutable sign. Pisces is a mutable sign. The Sun and Venus are now in Pisces. The full moon here, the syzygy in Virgo. We're in a mutable period, a mutation period. And this can be a seasonal analysis. It is in Ptolemy that we're in between 2 seasons. But we're getting warmer, but we're not quite in to that period where the spring comes and the days are now longer than the nights. We're wearing 2 hats. So enjoy the shifting tides of this moment. You can know that things are changing, and I bring optimism anytime there's mutability. This is why Jupiter rules mutable signs. It's because of this hope and optimism that comes with change. And of course you have Mercury then to temper the optimism, right? And that's what we get on this axis. Pisces is the optimistic pleasure, hope for better days. And then Mercury saying, hey, well, let's analyze it. Let's make sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that there's enough money in the bank, this kind of thing. And this is the night sect mutable side, which is the actual physical container that we're in, the things that hold us. So I just want to encourage you during this week, maybe get out in nature if you can. If it's warmed up enough where you are, go sit on a bench in a park. Just if you sit on a bench, you can see how everything's changing around you. There's little ants coming up in the grass. There's all kinds of birds. Those are my favorite. There's the little birds that are in the parks that want to eat things or that are around you. They actually sing too. Birds, I think, are heavily Venus in the sense that they're singers. And you can listen to those birds and just hear the present moment as it's changing. And we bring our intention, that's the sun, into this present moment with all its bounty as it's shifting and changing. That's Pisces. I think you can embrace this mutable energy and use it to induce awe and induce a wonderment that will serve us as we come down from the difficulty and we ease into this better astrology here in the spring, and really good here now with Pisces and Venus being in Pisces. And I think that's the thing, in a time of great contraction, right? Saturn is in Aquarius and will be there into March 2023. free. So we've got a lot of time of this contraction energy being strong. But in the time of contraction, that's one way to go through it, is connecting to the oneness of everything. And nature, I think, is almost the best way to do that. Water is in nature. If you can listen to the brook, or just sitting on the bench, like I said, that's the Virgo, see the growth and around you. Connecting to nature is a way to circumvent any of that drama, the mental drama. Because nature can only be perceived through the sensation of feeling and of just perceiving sounds. It's the best way to access it. We're kind of cutting around the thinking. We're letting that thinking go for a second, de-emphasizing it and getting the sensation into the surroundings. So use nature now as a strategy of interconnectedness and of raising your awareness of interconnectedness during this season of mutability that we've entered into. Thank God, right? We're changing now out of this very difficult pocket. So that's the weekly astrology. Let's get into our reading. Tarot. So we got the tarot. Let's pull some cards, see what those symbols say, and enjoy. I mean, the pleasure. Really, if there's one thing you take away from this video, what is giving you pleasure? What feels good? Go with what feels good, and in a wholesome way, right? You deserve to feel good. You deserve to be in a state of enjoyment with the things around you, and we're going to be able to rediscover that this week. So find what feels good. That's the slogan of Yoga with Adrian, I think. Find what feels good. I love that slogan. But find what makes you, what gives you pleasure. Like I said, we deserve to be satisfied. There's depressing sides for sure. There's suffering that's real. But we've got to enjoy the pleasure and the good stuff too. And this is the energy anytime you got Venus well situated in the zodiac for that. So let's get the first card. Let's see if the cards can speak to this theme of pleasure and enjoyment this week. All right. First card, Eight of Spades. Eight of Spades. This is, of course, Jupiter and Gemini. This is that first decan of Gemini. We just talked about the dance. It was funny because I just mentioned about this mutable axis. Well, this is the desec side of that, the more active side of how Jupiter and Mercury can work. This is, I think, where you run into problems sometimes with hopes, and you maybe sign the papers and you think the money's going to come, or you think like your Bitcoin or whatever it's going to be is going to keep going up forever, and then reality sets in and Mercury comes in, and our hopes sort of get diminished sometimes when we actually try to implement them into the real world. This being in this position, I'm thinking you may have had stops and starts. I mean, who hasn't in 2020 and 2021? With maybe some of the things you hoped at this point would be open. It's funny, I've been thinking a lot this week about back in March 2020, a bunch of astrologers, we were talking on Zoom right when this whole shift basically became real. And a lot of us are saying, well, wait till the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, that's when things are going to get back to normal. Or wait till the Kalasarpa Yoga ends in May, or the node shift signs, the true node shift tropical signs. We all had these theories on when we're going to be back to normal and life's going to return to how it was. The reality is we're not back to normal. We may not ever be going back to normal. This is actually this new reality we're in. Restriction, blocked off, digitized, new rules, everything's real difficult. And I think that that is what I'm feeling with this Jupiter in Gemini, this Eight of Spades, is that we've been blocked off. Things that we've wanted have been rejected by reality. We're not back to normal. And so it's worth considering that. Like, what did you hope and when did you hope it? And just kind of marking that off, all right? That's not what's happening now. Accepting reality that can help Jupiter flower and manifest in a way that's functional. When we kind of accept the limitations and sort of let go of those hopes. It's grief. That's why I think I've been in grieving. It's like, wow, look at this world. It's so different. Through grief comes clear seeing and the ability to then implement things that have legs and longevity. That's actually the benefit of Saturn, the great benefit, is that it brings us down to the earth. It's a destroying force that then strips us down to the bare foundations so that when we build, we're on solid footing. And that's what I think this card is pointing us to. So consider that, especially in a week where Venus is accessible. Maybe we can grieve a little bit with like the music on and in a warm bath. Okay, let's get that second card. anyhow, yeah, it's just so strange, this world we're in. I think the more we get used to it, the more it's like accepting. All right, a lot's online now. You know, I can't just go to any country I want. You know, we gotta wait this puppy out and let it unfold as it's gonna unfold. But it's not an excuse to just give up. You know, I'm someone, never give up. That's the power of Jupiter. I don't care what sign Jupiter is in. It's hope, that sliver of hope. It's always there. Because as long as we're breathing, you know, there's that spirit, the spark of divinity, according to my belief. So you never lose that until the light goes out, and we still have it. We still have it. Okay. And the thing is, Jupiter, we're getting into some wonderful astrology. I think with this year and next year, we're going to be adjusted to where there will be a real sense of enjoying this world that we're in now. All right, let's get that second card. All right. This is the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups. I love this card for Pisces season and for Venus and Pisces. Wow, what a great card to finish this reading on. Think about this week. Who are you delivering the cup of your love, of your emotional goodness? You know, emotions are great. Some people say, well, don't feel. I think the Aquarian, the heavy head energy with Aquarius and Saturn may have taken us out of our feeling body. And some of the re-embodiment that can take place this week, I think, will be feeling the emotions, whether that's grief or sad, whatever they are, they're beautiful. And emotions have a real Venusian side. There's pleasure in feeling. I don't know if you like a cry. I mean, sometimes I was going to these movies. What was the movie? The Light. Someone on Twitter recently said, what movies make you cry? And I remember I threw out my two favorite ones. I can't remember them now, but you know, I went to these movies and was just bawling like a kid. And I got out and I just felt so cleansed and so relieved. It was pleasurable to release the emotion. And that's what I think this is pointing us to, is like getting back in touch with our bodies and feeling that pleasure, that Venus and Pisces. This is water signs. This is that dynamic water force. So we can sort of use that re-embodiment and that feeling of the emotions as a guide. Right? Emotions can guide. They want to teach us something. When we feel anger, it's guiding us into grief. When we feel excitement, it's maybe guiding us into, or there's a reason why we're excited. It's that hope and that deep wellspring of optimism and beauty and love that we want to share. You know, so let your emotions, as they sort of trickle up, and as we get into a little bit more of an emotional energy with Pisces season and Venus there, use them to guide you. That's what I would say about this. Okay, so enjoy the week. Thank you for being here. That's the tarot reading, and you know, it's an honor and privilege to be here, be back up and running. As always, you can book astrology and tarot readings with me, sjanderson144.com. Click here to schedule a reading right on top of the page. I look forward to reading for you. It's really an honor and a privilege to do it. And yeah, enjoy this lovely, beautified, pleasurable, cheerful week, more so than I think we've had in a long time.